The PARS Safe Streets staff joining us today are Michelle Voth, Executive Director of Prevention and Resiliency Services, Lynn Smith, Community Prevention Consultant, Dana Swartz, Licensed Addiction Counselor, Irene Caballero, Grant Coordinator, Bilingual Community Mobilizer, Michaela Butterworth, Education and Communications Specialist, and I'm Judy Wilson, Office Manager, National Night Out Program Coordinator. So please contact any of the staff by email if you have questions. The agenda for today is posted, so you can have it there. It should be up to date. We changed the speaker introduction. That would be me, since it has a lot to do on her plate today. Our champion of character for December are Eric Connell and Jim Weaver. And I think maybe Eric was planning to be with us today on Zoom. As the strength of our nation is dependent upon the health and safety of its communities, the strength of our community is dependent upon the character of its citizens. Topeka City of Character and Safe Streets Coalition of Topeka and Shawnee County recognizes Eric Connell. On June 30th, 2020, Peggy Welch was driving during heavy rain when a manhole cover popped off a storm drain and stranded her car. Her car was filling up with water and her car engine stalled, and the electrical system that controlled the windows and the sunroof shorted out. She was trapped in the car with water up to her waist, and her car was floating in the water. Eric Connell and Jim Weaver went into the water and rescued Peggy from her car. Eric Connell and Jim Weaver are being recognized for demonstrating attentiveness, availability, boldness, compassion, and initiative. Eric is recognized as a champion of character for demonstrating these characters. Eric, would you like to make any comments? Are you in with us today?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, there you are. Yes, thank you.
I don't know. I just thank you for this. It's I just was out playing in the water. We tried waving her down, and we saw her go into the water, and it was kind of like, what do we do? And so I just, no brainer, go down and try to help her out. And at the time, I didn't realize how serious it was until after we got, all said and done. And, I'd do it again in a heartbeat. So.
Well, thank you so much, Eric. We really appreciate it. I know you're taking time off from work to be with us today, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. No big deal. They let me take a little later lunch, so it's not a big deal.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for rescuing her.
Oh, no problem. I'd do it for anybody.
Okay. Thank you.
So, take care, guys.
Thank you.
Yep.
At each meeting, we usually recognize a champion of character. A person can be nominated for exhibiting good character that has significantly improved the health, safety, or quality of life of the community. Any of the 49 different qualities can be considered for a champion of character. Anyone in Shawnee County can be nominated by completing the nomination form and emailing it to jwilson@safestreets.org. We'll move over now to the next slide. These are the November minutes. Of course, you received them by email, but we wanted to just go ahead and put them on the screen so it would be part of our recording for the day. No action is needed. Our staff update for November includes neighborhood watch meetings. Since we're not able to meet face-to-face, safety information is emailed to each neighborhood. This month, safety information was emailed to 142 neighborhoods, and information was provided by phone. There are approximately 1,821 reached. On our phone email trees for the neighborhoods, we have about 3,000 people. However, some of them do not have emails. So a lot of this we send to the different neighborhoods, and then they go ahead and tell their neighbors about it. Also, we wanted to let you know that the Patterson Give Back presented a $1,000 check to Safe Streets to further their work with our community. The presentation was made on WIBW on November 24th during the 4 p.m. Ralph Hip Red Couch Show. The retailers and IFO meeting did not meet in November, but the meeting information was emailed to 122 people. Even though we're still working at home mostly, there are 223 emails and calls for service just during November for Safe Streets. Please check out the Facebook pages, the Lock It, Remove It, or Lose It, which is remove items from your vehicle so they not be stolen. The NNO Facebook for updates and NNO planning and events, and Safe Streets Coalition Facebook. And please share the information with others. On the substance abuse initiatives, the Substance Abuse Task Force met with 9 people, and that was by Zoom. And of course, you see that their media page for Prevention Recovery Service or Resiliency Services, 9,649 people were reached. On the Latino initiatives, there were several Zoom presentations that were provided in Spanish on Facebook. And of course, you see there that the Latino Facebook reached 1,700 people in November. Next is our crime stats, and I believe Sergeant Michael Burns and maybe Sergeant Dan Wilson are with us today.
Good morning, Judy. I'm Sergeant Burns with Community Policing Unit. This is Sergeant Dan Wilson, also with our CPO unit. Going over the city violent crime, from difference from last month, we're down across the board except for aggravated assaults and batteries. Those are up. For the year, we're up on homicides and aggravated assaults and batteries. Robberies to individuals and businesses are both down. Going to the city property crime, we are seeing an uptick in thefts, including auto thefts and vehicle break-ins. Dan's going to talk a little bit about that. Burglary businesses are also up this year. Just with the holiday season coming up, make sure we're being smart about what's being left in the car.
Along the lines with the crime stats, we're seeing an uptick in car burglaries overnight. And I'll steal this. I know we've talked about it before, but I'll steal it from another city. Before you go to bed, lock your car, make sure nothing's in it. Lock your exterior car or your interior door to your garage. Just kind of do a checklist every night. Make sure that stuff's taken care of so that, you can go to work in the morning and your car's not being driven around all night, or your checkbook's out in the yard or whatever it is. They seem to be really focusing on trucks and SUVs right now. So if you own one of those, maybe take extra precaution as far as just making sure there's nothing in it. We had an officer who all he had in the car was a diaper bag, and they broke the window out, and didn't steal anything, obviously, because there wasn't anything of value, but they thought that might have something in it. So another crime tip to go off of right now is everybody's getting their Christmas stuff sent to them. Pay attention to what is sitting on your front porch. If you can, have it delivered to work or even held at, say, FedEx or UPS or the post office and go get it. That way it's going to be there. As a neighbor, pay attention. If you see the FedEx truck coming, and they're busy, they're just going to leave your package right out there in the open. Maybe you go put it behind the bush for your neighbor, or if it's somebody you trust, grab it for them, and, when they get home from work, let them know. So those are a couple things. Also, when you're out shopping, make sure before you leave the store, know where your car is, have your keys out, have them ready. If you don't feel safe or, it's dark and, whatever the situation is, you can always ask an employee to help walk you to your car. Or, if one of us happens to be in the parking lot, something like that. A couple other things we have going on. We just announced that PAL basketball is going to allegedly go on for high school. That's something that I did 25 years ago, and it was a really good program. We kind of got away from it, but this is probably not the year to do it, but we're going to try to start it back up. Officer Lister is the contact on that. If that's something you have a high school kid that's just needs something to do, I think he play on Saturday nights or Sundays. Two other things. We just got finished with the Special Olympics Battle of the Batteries, And somehow I thought we'd maybe make a couple $1,000s this year. We ended up raising over $19,000, which especially this year with the charities and stuff, that was pretty amazing. And appreciate any support that we got from anybody out there on that. Third and lastly, tomorrow night, if you want to come to Winter Wonderland, you'll have the privilege of seeing the Topeka Police Department out there. And if you come between 8 and 10, you might even see us out there working the gate. As community policing, that's something that we've been involved in the last couple of years to try to give back to the community. So does anybody have any questions?
All right, thanks, Judy.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Deputy Abigail Christian, Shawnee County Sheriff's Office Public Relations Deputy, and she'll give us an update.
Hi, thanks, Judy. Good afternoon, everyone. Like Judy said, I'm Abigail Christian, the Public Relations Deputy for the Shawnee County Sheriff's Office, and I'll be speaking on behalf of Sheriff Brian Hill. Michelle, if you'll go to the next slide for me, please.
Will do. Oops, hold on.
Thank you.
Sorry.
That's all right.
There we go. Sorry.
Perfect. All right. Just to start off, we hope that everyone had a nice and safe Thanksgiving. It is that time of year that we're going to be seeing a lot more deer out being active. So just a few tips that we have for you, as you can see on the screen. These tips we just hope will help either avoid or lessen the chances of injury or damages to you or your vehicle in the case of an accident. Try to slow down near wooded areas in particular. Watch out for more deer when you see one, because they like to travel in packs or pairs. When you are driving and are alone on the road, try to use your brights. That'll help you see just a little bit farther. And make sure that everyone in the vehicle is buckled up safely. If you go to our social media, a few weeks back, we posted about car seat safety. So feel free to check that out and make sure that everyone in the car is buckled up correctly. All right, next slide, please. All right, we've got just a few safety tips for you. Just wanted to post about a few reminders now that the holidays are in full swing. We recently posted on our social media some safe for Black Friday and Cyber Monday shopping. We know that shopping is going to be a thing this entire month, so just try to keep those tips in mind to make sure that you and all your packages get where they need to go safely. And the next slide, please, Michelle. Thank you. In the near future, we're going to be posting some additional safety tips. We'd like to remind our citizens to make sure to lock your doors. Lock doors to your homes. That's windows, doors, garages, outbuildings, etc., as well as your vehicles. And remember, do not leave any firearms in your vehicles or keys inside as well, whether they're parked inside an enclosed garage or out in the open. Just go ahead and take those in. They're safer inside. And also feel free to stop by the sheriff's office and pick up a tamper-proof license plate kit for your vehicle. Because remember, criminals aren't going to take that holiday break like the rest of us are. And thank you. And in conclusion, we're just here to continue to serve and protect our citizens and ensure the safety and security of our entire community. Please tune into our social media. We got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and our website as well. Let us know if you have any questions. Feel free to call us. And everyone have a safe and happy holiday.
Thank you very much, Abigail.
Welcome.
Next, we have Lynn Smith, who is our Community Prevention Consultant with PARS. Lynn is a graduate of Kansas State University with a degree in I don't know exactly how you pronounce this, Lynn. Anyway, he joined the Prevention Services Department at PARS in June of 2012 as a Community Prevention Consultant. In this role, Lynn gives presentations in the schools and in the community addressing substance abuse and prevention education. Prior to joining the Prevention Services Department, Lynn spent 6 years with Safe Streets, which is another program of PARS. At Safe Streets, Lynn was a youth development coordinator and community mobilizer. Lynn's interest in prevention work stems from wanting youth to be successful in life. Lynn understands firsthand how using substance can negatively impact one's life. So Lynn feels it's important to educate today's youth about the dangers of using alcohol. tobacco, or other drugs. Outside of work, Lynn enjoys coaching sports and has done this for the past 20 years. Let's welcome Lynn Smith.
All right. Well, good afternoon. And Judy, I didn't know you had all that information on me, but I should have figured you had that since you're the gatekeeper of all information for bars and safe streets. So
I could add some more, Lynn, if you want.
no, I think we'll leave it there for that. But thank you for the introduction. For those who have seen me in person give presentation, I usually try to be interactive with my presentations. It's going to make it a little bit harder doing this by Zoom, but I do have a couple interactive slides. Hopefully that everybody will entertain. We're in that time of the year where we have a lot of our young people staying at home, not by choice because of the pandemic, depending on the school district. I know where my child goes to school, she's completely remote, so she's at home every single day. Prior to that, she was a hybrid learner, meaning she stayed at home for 3 days, went to school for 2 days. But now that the majority of our young people in Shawnee County are at home, they're probably spending more time in their rooms than they were doing in the past. And so they may have more idle hands to do things that they probably wouldn't be doing. And so this would be, I would encourage you all who do have kids, who do have nieces and nephews, who, if you're visiting them or visiting in those homes, to go into those rooms, to take a look at what's in their rooms, because what might look like a water bottle might not be a traditional water bottle. So I encourage you to touch things, twist things, pull things, because again, what might look like a water bottle might turn out to be a hidden apparatus or a compartment where they're storing either drugs or paraphernalia, or they might even be using it for a good purpose. Maybe they're stashing valuable jewelry. But, you know, in our pandemic, we are seeing with the information that's being shared that not just young people, people of all ages are turning to substances to deal with their behavior, their mood. So we just want to keep that in mind. Excuse me. So Judy, so if you, or Michelle, excuse me, we're going to get into that interaction part right now. So I'm going to start off with a poll question for everybody, and I'm going to ask Michelle to launch that poll. But the question is, what is the #1 substance Shawnee County youth are using? And so depending on your device, you may not see this poll pop up on your screen. If you don't, go ahead and put that answer in the chat. But if you do, please go ahead and enter your answer. And Michelle will give us a countdown as far as how many people have participated, and then kind of give a countdown of when she's ready to close that poll, and then we'll give you the answer.
Yeah, we've got 13 so far out of 16, and I think there are a few folks that are calling in, so they may not be now. We've got 16. Let's give a few more seconds and see if we get one more. Well, I think we'll end now. We've got 15 out of 16. I'm going to end the polling, and I'm going to share the results with you.
All right. So 83% of you got, 53% got it correct. So 8 out of the 16 got it correct. Alcohol is the #1 substance being used by Shawnee County. If you've been to one of our coalition meetings before, you probably remember me asking that question. But alcohol continues to be the #1 substance of choice for our young people. This is based off of the Kansas Communities That Care survey data. So alcohol is the #1 answer. So for those of you who got it right, great. You'll have an opportunity to answer some more questions in the near future. So Michelle, could you stop sharing the results, please?
All right.
And you may have to close your own poll on your page. So you may have to click the X to close that, so you're not seeing that anymore on your respective screen. All right, next slide, Michelle.
Okay, so I'll get out of this. It says relaunch polling, so. Okay.
All right, so the next question I want to ask you guys, which will be the next slide.
Okay.
I would like for you to put your answer in the chat. Okay. What would you say are the top 6 substances used by Shawnee County youth? So at this time, if you wouldn't mind taking a minute to type your answer into the chat, and then I will reveal what are the top 6 substances that our young people are using in Shawnee County based on the Kansas Community That Care Survey. And Michaela, when those come in, would you mind reading those out for us, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you. We already know one.
Right. Nothing yet. Oh, alcohol from Topeka Jump.
Okay.
Alcohol, marijuana, meth, e-cigs, question marks. Alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, parents' medications.
Okay.
Xanax. Alcohol, pills, e-cigs, marijuana, marijuana jewel, alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, opioids.
Okay.
We've had
All right,
11.
Dab,
Yeah.
tobacco, marijuana, meth, and vaping.
Okay.
This is 10 answers so far.
I think that's a pretty good list.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and reveal what are the top 6 substances used by Shawnee County youth. Starting from least going to highest is inhalants. Inhalants has now popped back on the scene. Number 6 used to be tobacco. I think with enough prevention efforts going on within the society, our young people now see the dangers of using tobacco products. So not to say that they're not using it, but it didn't reach the top 6. So follow after inhalants is binge drinking. And that might, can you go to the next one, Michelle?
Sure.
Just go ahead. So the number 2 is pills. I don't know why binge drinking came up next, but number 2 is prescription pills, then followed by
It's coming up.
yeah, it's kind of coming up weird. So let's just put them all up. So it should be inhalants, prescription pills, marijuana, binge drinking, e-cigarettes or vapes, and then drinking. As far as binge drinking, by definition, that is 4 or more drinks for girls in a setting, which is defined as 2 hours, and 5 or more drinks for guys. That is the definition of binge drinking. So when we look at it from the perspective of young people, almost 7% of our young people say in the past 2 weeks they have binge drinked. The e-cigarette number has gone down, but it still is the number 2 substance identified by our young people that they're using. As I mentioned in the previous poll, drinking continues to be the number 1 substance used, not just in Shawnee County, but that is throughout the United States. Then we have marijuana, which that number has gone down, but it still seems to be an issue within our community. If you were at our coalition meeting last month, Dana mentioned that that is the number 1 substance that she is seeing when young people are referred to our agency for an evaluation. But just to keep in mind, these are our top 6 substances. Inhalants has now been on the list for 2 consecutive years now. So you might want to keep an eye out for those type of products that young people might be sniffing. Markers, the liquid whiteout, things of that nature, huffing cans, things of that nature. So if you're starting to replace those at a more frequent rate than you used to, that might be a red flag that someone in your house is using them and not the manner that it was meant to be used. Okay, Michelle. You can find this data. You can look at other risk and protective factors on the Communities That Care survey. Believe that website is listed at the bottom of this snapshot here. But it's up in the upper right. There it is in the bar up there, kctcdata.org. You can look at Shawnee County data. You can look at if you're from, say, Cloud County and you want to see what's going on back in your home community, you can look at that as well. Kind of gives us an idea of what's going on in our community from the perspective of our young people. And this survey is administered to grades 6th, 8th, 10th, and 12th grades. So we get this survey is usually taken December, early January-ish, and then we get the results May or June, some of that time frame. All right. So this is a picture of what we would like our kids' rooms to look like. I'm gonna show this to my daughter. Her room looks like the total opposite on the spectrum of what we would like for our kids' rooms to look like. When we were still doing things in person, this is something that we would take on the road called the mock bedroom. As we have now switched to doing things virtually, Michaela and I, in the near future, 2021, we are going to be looking at the possibility of making this a virtual bedroom where people can do this online and maybe use a cursor to pick things and see if that's been identified as drug paraphernalia within that actual mock bedroom. But these are some of the things that you would see if we were to do this in person. So I just wanted to show you what our mock bedroom typically looks like. And then what we would have you do if this was in person, we would have you literally just tear the room up and see if you can find and identify all of the drug paraphernalia or items within this bedroom. But since we can't do that, we're going to do the next best thing. I'm going to show you some things that we would normally have in this room. And hopefully, as I mentioned at the beginning, maybe put you on notice in your kids' room now, like, why is that water bottle still in their room and it's empty? Or why aren't they drinking that Sprite that's in their room? It's been in there for a week. Why haven't they drank it yet? Things of that nature. So just some things to increase your awareness and then engage in conversation with your kids, because ultimately that's what we want to have is conversations with our kids to find out ultimately why are they engaging in this behavior. Okay, Michelle. So here we have a Coca-Cola can and a actual water bottle, Aquafina. So to the eye, in plain sight, it will look just like the real thing. No pun intended. However, the Coca-Cola can is going to be off when you hold it. It's going to have like a little, depending on, it's going to feel like the weight of a normal pop can, but it's going to be off slightly. So that should be a red flag right there. The water bottle, depending on the make and model of the water bottle, it may have a liquid in it. And so Michelle, if you go to the next screen so they can see what it actually would look like. So the Coke can is used for a hidden compartment so they can stash things. This water bottle right here is actually a drinking apparatus. So the bottom portion of that water bottle actually unscrews, and then they can put their beverage of choice in the bottle of it. So with it being a water bottle, it's probably going to be something white in nature, vodka or gin of that sort. And they can unscrew that and then take a drink and then screw it back up. The other type of water bottle that is out there that it unscrews in half and it's a hidden compartment. So there's a couple of different type of apparatuses out there that can be used for stashing or actually consuming. Next slide, Michelle. We've all probably seen this book in movies where they're like jail scenes or prison scenes and they're stashing things or they're passing something off. And these are really legit. They are out there. And so this is a book that we actually purchased, I believe either in town or online. And this is a lot of these products can be found within our own community, or they can easily go online and order and have it delivered to their front door. So the next slide, please, Michelle. You can see there's the book's been hollowed out. There's a stash compartment, and they can put whatever their desire in that stash compartment. Next slide. Here we have some hygiene products, deodorant and a brush. To the eye, you got Speed Stick, a known brand of deodorant, you got a brush. But if we look a little bit further and we examine, if you show the next slide, Michelle, you'll see that these are hidden compartments. When you actually look at the deodorant, it actually has a smell like a deodorant. It has a touch that resembles deodorant. You just can't use it, but it gives that appearance that it's legit. But again, as you explore, touch, twist, pull, you'll find that these are hidden compartments. Next one. We have what is a marker to the eye. Looks like your a red marker. But upon examination of this marker, next slide, you will see that it can be pulled out into the image on the left, the black piece, that is a pipe. Some of these markers, the felt tip does work, so it is going to still look and work and act just like a regular marker. But when you pull the bottom portion, that's where the pipe is located. So it's going to be off in weight. So again, that's that whole thing of knowing what things should look like and feel like. And so therefore, our kids have access to this. Surge protectors. We probably all have them in our homes, some in our offices. So we use these for our computers, our electronic devices. The thing to know about this actual surge protector right there, it will actually illuminate as if it is on, even though it's unplugged. So that's going to be one red flag there. So if you were to unplug it from the wall and that on-off switch is still showing red, that's a red flag that this isn't right. But when it's actually plugged in and someone has maybe their cell phone plugged in there and a lamp plugged in there, and you're like, why isn't my cell phone charging? Why isn't this lamp turning on? And you change batteries. That's again, start two red flags. What is going on with this surge protector? So the next slide will show you what's wrong with this surge protector. It's another hidden compartment where they can stash things. All right, next slide, Michelle. We've all heard about Juuls. These are 4 different types of vaping devices. So you have the Juul, which is the most, at one time was the most known vaping device by our youth in Shawnee County, actually in the United States. But with like anything, things morph and change and they adapt. Like with fashion, if you're up on fashion, things have changed. Jewelry changes. And so we have several different varieties of vapes that are out there. You have the sour and drop vape device that looks like the whiteout device. You have the BB tank flip that looks like a car key fob. And then we have the PAX 3, which is of what's out there, the most sophisticated of the vaping devices, because that one can be used for liquids, but also the dry leafy substance of marijuana. So I just wanted to put that out there so you can see the challenges that not only that we face in this industry, but the challenges you may face as a parent or a caregiver who have young people or teenagers. It don't even have to be teenagers, just young people. Next slide. Apparel. I jokingly say I took this out of my closet, but I really didn't. This is some stuff that our young people are wearing, from hats to shirts to shorts to the shoes to the lanyards. Each item of clothing here has something to reference about substance use, and I'll show you each one of those with each respective slide. So with the shoes, there's a Velcro pocket in the tongue of the shoe. For a lot of latchkey kids, that might be ideal to put your key in there, but what we have seen, a lot of young people are using that pocket to stash their drugs. The next slide is a hat underneath that image in the middle where it says stash pocket. In the lining of the hat, that lining lifts up just enough to be able to stash something up underneath the lining of the hat. I will also draw your attention to the product of the name of this product is called Seedless, SEEDLESS. That is the company who makes this product. And for those who have any background information about marijuana use, marijuana users despise having seeds in their marijuana. They don't want to have to deal with that step of having to roll their joint or blunt, whatever the case may be. So Seedless, that is the name of that company, kind of a play on words. Next slide is a lanyard made by Seedless. In their effort, they made a stash pocket on the lanyard. It's kind of pretty visible right here, but they could easily put a marijuana joint there or a blunt, even some pills, a cigarette, whatever the case may be, but it's right there on their lanyard. Anything that is made by Seedless is going to have a hidden compartment of some sort on their merchandise. Next slide. Excuse me, in this case right here with their shorts, all they did is they took a Velcro lanyard, attached it to a little pocket pouch there, and the lanyard kind of drapes on the inside of the shorts. So that was their attempt to conceal the pouch. But again, with any type of seedless paraphernalia or merchandise, there's going to be some sort of hidden compartment or attempt to conceal. This shirt right here, there's a couple of references about marijuana use on here. You got the super sticky, you got the honey oil, you got the 710. And Michelle, I think if you click one more, it might bring up an arrow, maybe. I guess it didn't. But on the 710, I want you to know, if you go back once, well, that's fine too.
Yeah.
That's fine, that works. So the 710 is kind of like the new 420. So most people are familiar with the 420, the National Weed Smoking Day. Now it's morphed into the 710, or the oil, as you saw with that illustration, the 710 flipped. And if you write 710 and spell it backward, it spells oil. So that is a reference to the butane hash oil, that is the extract for making what you may have heard as dab or wax. There are several different forms of that product depending on how it looks. And the image on the right are the different images of the final product. So if it's kind of a soft consistency, it's called butter. It can be called wax. It can be called shatter. As Dana mentioned in her presentation last month, the potency is very potent. It can exceed 80%, sometimes in the 90% of THC potency, and it only takes a little bit to get high. Vaprwear, VAPR, as you see on the screen, Vaprwear, they have made a mark on the industry as well. I showed this and brought this to a meeting before. Their hoodie actually contains a smoking apparatus on their drawstrings. So on one side of the drawstring, there is a capsule where you would put the oil, and then on the other end is where you would actually smoke it from. Because we know that the smell that is emitted from using vapes to smoking marijuana is really faint. That's what gives these young people the courage or the audacity to do this in the classrooms or walking down the hallway or in the bathrooms. Vaporware then also created, I believe, which is the next slide, a backpack. So now they have, in addition to a smoking apparatus within the backpack, they also included where it says number 4, the hydro bladder, because one of the side effects for smoking weed is you get a dry mouth. So they took that into consideration. So not only can you have a usable backpack to put your books in, but also now you can smoke your BHO oil, and then you can even hydrate yourself. So one wouldn't think twice if a young person was walking around with a backpack, especially depending on which school you went to, because they don't use their lockers these days. So one wouldn't think twice that this is a apparatus to conceal or even to smoke weed, but it is. Excuse me. So some things that I would like to leave you with that you can do. Talk early and talk often. Ask questions. Be informed. Go on Google, go to YouTube, visit shops. You know, we tend to take, when we were still in the office, we would take quarterly, what we called field trips to our local stores, and they would tell you everything you want to know and things you don't want to know about the product. Try to know the trends. Try to know who their friends and family members are if possible. Connect them to resources, and then talk to them again. Just continue to talk to them. Eventually, hopefully something will sink in and they will start talking to you about why they're making the choices that they're making. And I believe that's it. This is where we're at, as you guys know. And at this time, we will open it up to any questions that you might have. You can either ask them by mic or put them in chat.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Lynn for all of his wealth of knowledge. And I have a question, if no one has a question, is anything that surprised you about Lynn's presentation today?
The subtlety of the devices was an eye-opener to me.
I was shocked about all the different ways at different places. I just had no idea.
Anyone else?
Lynn, do you go to schools and do a presentation similar to this?
We do not try to enlighten our young people about the products that are out there. This is more a parent, guardian type presentations. We're trying to level the playing field. We know we're always 1 to 2 steps behind our young people, but we at least want to try to give them some information to have those conversations, to know what to look for or potentially to look for in their kids' rooms. But as far as actually giving this to the kids, they already know enough. They probably could give this presentation to us. I'm probably missing a third of the stuff that they actually have access to. So,
what about the teachers, though?
Are you asking, do we give this to the teachers?
Yeah, are teachers educated on how to identify and where to look?
We offer this, so this is more of they would have to ask for this type of presentation. So yes, we would definitely give it to a teacher to have them, because kids are walking in the classrooms with water bottles or different type of drinking apparatuses, cups, what have you. So it might be, again, it could be in the classrooms, but it's not something that we do on a regular basis because it's not an ask that we get. But if they was to ask for it, we definitely would provide it.
I guess the other thing too is if any of you that are on the call, or if you would want to share it, that this is available. Lynn can do this via Zoom. I know a lot of faith community groups are meeting via Zoom, parent groups, that kind of thing. If you could pass this on, because we'd be happy to be able to provide this information, because it is surprising sometimes. I'm curious, were you surprised about the percentages on use for the various drugs?
Well, Michelle, I'll use that as a segue for what we have that we would like for you to take on or to do and even share. If the 2 questions that I posed to you today interest you or caught your interest, we did create a substance use IQ to asking community members, what do you think you know about Shawnee County youth as it pertains to substance use within our county? And we asked 5 questions. It's very simple. I believe Michaela has put that link to that survey in the chat. Judy will get that out to you guys in a follow-up email as well. But we would be curious to know, what do you think you know about substance use in Shawnee County as it pertains to our young people? So we're going to ask you, one of those questions was, what are the top 6, or what is the #1 substance used? Where are young people consuming their alcohol? What is the young people's perception of harm of using marijuana on a regular basis? We would be interested to know what you think you know about our young people, because they think we don't know. And sometimes we don't know, but this gives us an opportunity to have that conversation with them so we can find out. One of the best ways to learn is going to be from the young people. They'll tell you more than you probably wanted to know. Having a teenager daughter who just turned 14 yesterday, if you just sit and listen, I hear a lot of stuff and I just kind of start cringing, especially when she's around her friends, just on the stuff that they're talking about. So it's important to listen, it's important to ask, it's important to find out what's going on and have those conversations.
Lynn and Michaela, would you also speak? Of course, everyone is challenged of getting together. We used to meet at schools and do a lot of educational programs. So one of the things PAR's staff has been involved in is as Lynn mentioned, putting together some online trainings. And you might, I think it'd be a good opportunity to tell folks what we have available or will have.
Yeah, Michaela and I have been working really hard since the pandemic, probably at least the last 6 months, just learning a new platform to still be able to provide our partners information, get the information to our kids to where they're at. And like I said, with a lot of our young people being at home, we had to create something that could reach them at home. We don't have the luxury of being in the classroom and being in person and talking to them as we would like to. That's my preference, to be in there and interact and have fun with them. But we created something that we think is really unique. We think it's going to sustain the test of time. We are using the CTC data as our basis for the content of what we developed, to address those top 6 substances that we have identified that we know that they're using, from alcohol to smoking weed to opioid misuse. We currently have alcohol curriculum ready to launch, or we also have created one that intertwines traditional tobacco use with vaping use. Then we'll be working on marijuana prescription use. We'll be working on internet safety. Is that the correct word, Michaela? Something to that effect. Just being safe on the internet, social media awareness type of information. And so again, we just want to try to continue to be a resource for our community, knowing that we can't get into the schools and who knows when we'll be able to or if we'll be able to. So with that being said, we had to think outside of the box and do things that we traditionally haven't done and hadn't thought about before. So we're really excited and we can't wait to get that out there. And when we do, we would definitely appreciate you guys spreading the word about it for us.
Hey, Lynn.
Yes.
What community or civic groups have you made this, have you presented this to?
I did a small presentation in February to the South Topeka Rotary.
Thought so. Yeah, great.
Mm-hmm. And I would add, if you are part of groups that might be interested in a presentation like this, please let us know, because we do have to find other ways of reaching folks. If you belong to a faith community or another community organization or whatever, we'd be happy to talk with you about providing something. And the other thing I want to just highlight too is the quiz that Lynn just spoke about, and it's in the chat. And again, we will send you the link. Feel free, if you're curious or if you're willing, send this to your employees. You know, Bill, could you do that to your employees? And we can just see what they think. It might be interesting, even though you all work with mental health and you work with substance abuse. Sometimes perception of what's going on in the community doesn't match up with the data. And so what we plan to do with that information is really, after we get, we're going to have this link open through the end of the year. So at our next meeting, we'll be launching the, what did we find? Is perception reality, or just, and that will help us figure out what kind of messages that we need to, and educational efforts we need to continue on or refresh for 2021, which seems like a weird number to think about right now.
Hey, Michelle or Lynn.
Yes.
Have you folks worked with Lissa Staley at the library or somebody at the Shawnee County Topeka Library?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've done a couple of presentations for their whole staff. Almost like an annual thing that I do for them. It's a little bit different this year because of the COVID. So we did something, kind of a recorded type presentation for them, but they do have me come in to do like a drug trends or drug paraphernalia type presentation for them.
Super.
I think the other thing to point out too, we can do customizable. If you're interested in a particular topic, Lynn and Michaela can work on that as well. And we've done that, drug trends. We did, Dana did addiction and trauma last time, but we're happy to tailor it to the type of topic and also the time frame that you have. whether it's for your business or organization or a community group. So, with that, I'm just curious, I'll open it up if anybody has questions or if you have sort of updates or things you want other folks to know about what's going on in your world. COVID is, I know, certainly a big part of Bill's and Carla's life with healthcare, and feel free to chime in. We're happy to hear any updates from your perspective or anybody else's.
I think it relates somewhat to safe streets and the overall mission of public safety and so forth. But Vallejo, along with several area churches and the rescue mission, is starting a program called Operation Clean and Healthy. And it is going to be a mobile shower, laundry, and restroom facility that will be available mainly to the unsheltered. But anybody who presents in need, and through some contacts that in a group that meets through the United Way every Tuesday, we're going to link up some other resources for people who are at risk, and this does stem directly from some COVID CARES Act money that we received, and there'll be access to food and other resources. So be watching for more information about Operation Clean and Healthy.
Love it.
I mentioned that in February, we will be doing another community health needs assessment, and it is done every 3 years. And out of that comes our community health improvement plan. And we address local issues. And so I'll be looking to this group and many others to help distribute that survey so we can get feedback on what individuals really feel are the true needs of our community, so we can do action plans around those.
The other thing I'd ask you too is watch your local TV stations. PARS has some ads that relate to underage drinking and the important role that parents play, and questions that they can ask that kind of adds to some of the presentation today that Lynn had. And one other thing, I know Bill is involved with this and Carla's involved in this as well, but we're working on an opioid grant, and we're doing right now sort of Facebook survey trying to look at what kind of messaging that we need to provide for the age group that's really opioid overdoses are increasing. And that age group is from the 55 to 64-year-old age range. So that's another thing that you'll be seeing. And while opioid overdose use is not huge in Shawnee County, we're still sometimes second or third, depending on the year, as far as number 1, 2, or 3 in the highest overdoses in the state. So
it is a growing area that we see in our adult alcohol and drug abuse treatment programs, the emergence of opioid abuse and addiction. Still far and away alcohol, methamphetamine, marijuana, but the opioids are making an appearance, probably about 10, 15% of our clientele at the present time. But it is an emerging issue here in Shawnee County, at least from the treatment perspective. Thank you for mentioning that, Michelle. You're doing some great work there. I have to run to another meeting, but Merry Christmas to everybody, and thank you all.
Thank you, Bill.
Well, and we thank WWW for joining us today. I hope this has been informative, and please feel free to reach out if you need more information. We'd be happy to provide it.
Great, thank you for having me. It was nice meeting you all. I really appreciate it, and I got a lot of good information. Thank you so much for being so welcoming to me.
Absolutely. Anybody else would like to share anything? We're almost getting close to 1 o'clock and want to be respectful of your time. Well, with that, I would say please be safe and healthy, and have as much of a merry holiday, happy holiday as you can in this crazy world and time. We appreciate you coming, and we'll be sending out again the link to the survey, and we hope you will share it broadly for us. The more information, the more surveys we get, the more information that we can get about what the community really is thinking and knowing about substance abuse with youth in the community. So with that, Judy, do you have any final comments?
No, I really appreciate you all joining us today. And as Michelle said, have a happy holiday and safe as well. We all want to be healthy from the COVID, so that may mean that we stay in more at Christmas, but do enjoy your family as much as you can. Thank you for joining us.
Great. And thanks, Lynn, for very much for your presentation. Really appreciate all the wealth of information you have.
You're welcome.
All right. Have a great day, the rest of the day and rest of the week, everyone. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.